Guys, today we're doing something that we've never done before and not many people have done before either.
We are doing Disney's Keys to the Kingdom tour. This is a 5-hour tour through the Magic Kingdom where we get to know lots of different facts about all the rides. We get to go on the famous UTILIDORS and get lunch included as well. We're very, very excited. We don't know a lot about the tour, so we're excited to see what we learn and what we get to experience.
We saw things that you would not believe. The character behind the character. What lies beneath the floor at Magic Kingdom. We even saw what was behind Splash Mountain. So come with us. What are you doing? Come on.
So unfortunately we weren't able to record a lot of the tour. Obviously when we were backstage and in the UTILIDORS, which is awesome, we weren't able to record. We had to do a little raise your right hand oath that we wouldn't pull out our phones or anything like that. But just to give you a general idea, if you are considering doing the Keys of the Kingdom tour, we originally started off heading through where the castle is, so you walk into the park, and a bit of background on how they structured that when they set up Magic Kingdom.
So the first thing that we learned is that Magic Kingdom is roughly structured around an old-fashioned movie in which the credits would initially appear at the beginning of the film, which you can see throughout the park if you look really closely on the walls. The next way that it's kind of structured like an old-fashioned film is that Main Street is like the curtain slowly being raised to the main feature. The main feature is the castle. So the big thing that they wanted with Magic Kingdom is that you shouldn't be able to see the castle until you get to the Main Street, until you kind of get to the centre of the street where you get that perfect picturesque view of that massive castle. They did a really good job at it. You can't see the castle from anywhere else. You might be able to see the peak, but you never get a full view of the castle before entering the park and standing on Main Street. Applause.
We then headed down Main Street into Adventureland, which is where we started. Our tour guide gave us a lot of information and little things to look out for, just like the changes in the floor, changes in the fencing, the bins, the music, and things like that, which is it's just stuff you don't normally pick up on unless you're looking for it, which is really cool. So we were able to ride 2 rides on the tour, the first being Jungle Cruise, but it wasn't your normal Jungle Cruise where you've got your skipper making a bunch of dad jokes. Instead, our tour guide led the boat and she gave us a lot of fun facts about Jungle Cruise ride and its history and little nicks and knacks to look out for. So that was definitely really interesting and a fun way to see the ride from another perspective. One of the fun facts we learned on the Jungle Cruise is there's a section where there are quite a few elephants. If you look really carefully, you'll notice there are 3 of the exact same animatronic called Bertha. And that's because if Bertha goes down, the ride has to stop. So they've got 3 of her, so if anyone goes down, they've got another one there to replace her. We then headed over into the Enchanted Tiki Room, where she told us a bit of information on the roots of that attraction, where that started, and we were able to watch that, which Rosh and I have never actually seen that, so that was a good little way for us to see that. We then headed through Adventureland into Frontierland, which is when we started to make our way backstage. Now, if you are a child or an adult who does not want the magic ruined, stop watching now, because I'm going to tell you some of the fun things we got to see backstage. I'm not going to tell you too much, just some of the little nicks and knacks we got to see. Obviously each tour is completely different depending on the timing and what happens to be going on around that time. We were fortunate enough that it was close to the parade time, so we actually got to see some of the floats getting pulled out, where they're stored, get a bit of information on that, and we also got to see some of the characters getting prepped for the parade. So for example, we saw Pinocchio without his head on. I'll leave it at that. We also found out some fun facts about the requirements for people who are looking to join the cast, particularly for character roles. For example, Mickey and Minnie have a strict height requirement that you have to be about 5'1", 5'2". So a lot of the time, it's actually women that are in those suits. Girl power. From there, we were able to walk back around. We stopped for lunch at Pecos Bill, which is nice Mexican. It's delicious. We were absolutely stuffed by the end of it. Very quick stop, and we continued on with our tour.
The second ride that we did on the tour was Haunted Mansion, but not before our tour guide told us heaps of fun facts about this ride and a few things to pick up on in our ride experience. I'm going to tell you guys 2 of my favourite fun fact type things regarding Haunted Mansion. The first one is, I think back in the olden days, when you were really, really tall and you died, they only had like a one-size-fits-all coffin. So if you were too tall to fit into the coffin, they would cut off your ankles. Yeah, and so that is kind of shown in Haunted Mansion because there is one character who is without ankles. So next time you ride that ride, have a look and see if you can find out who that is. The second fun fact is kind of in relation to a question that was asked at the end of the tour. The question was, when rides go down, do the cast members really not know how long it is until the ride is fixed? Or is it like a blanket answer that they're not sure when it will be back up and running? And our tour guide said it depends, which is fair, I believe it. But in regards to Haunted Mansion, which is one of the best running rides, if that ever goes down to the point where they evacuate the queue completely, chances are that's because someone has actually tried to spread someone's ashes on the ride and they have to take the time to clean it up, which I was just so random. It's a fun fact.
We then moved into Fantasyland, which is the moment we had been waiting for. We made our way into the infamous UTILIDORS of Magic Kingdom. For those who don't know, Magic Kingdom is actually the second floor of this park. The first level is made up of a bunch of tunnels running underneath us, which is where all the cast members work their way around the park. In the UTILIDORS, we did get to see some cast members just walking around, nothing too flash obviously, a lot of them were just on their breaks, but it was very, very cool to see that tunnel system in action. We got to see a map of the tunnel system as well, and just get some general background information on Walt Disney, Roy Disney, and some of the other key figures who helped make Magic Kingdom what it is. From the UTILIDORS, we headed back up onto level 2 and got one final chance to ask as many questions as we could, and our guide was so great. She answered every single question. It's one topic she's not allowed to answer, which I won't say, but otherwise she was a complete open book, so it was really fun to ask all those burning questions you've always had. We highly recommend doing the Keys to the Kingdom tour. Considering all the other tours you can do, this is really affordable and you get a really good insight. It's 5 hours, lunch included, backstage access, utilidor access, a couple of rides. I highly recommend it. If you're worried about ruining the magic, from our perspective, it hasn't at all. If anything, it just makes us more in awe of what it takes to run this park. I'd probably say I wouldn't recommend it for kids because I think let them live the magic as long as they can, but as an adult who's experienced a lot of Disney, it was awesome just to see how everything comes together, how everything functions, and just some little sneak peeks of what goes on stage.
And guys, it's got me thinking we should probably send our resumes into Disney. What do you think?
Maybe.
Another fun fact that we learnt today was that with Orlando being the lightning capital of the world, Disney World needs multiple lightning rods throughout the parks for safety. And we learnt what the tallest lightning rod was in Magic Kingdom, and to our surprise, it was actually the enchanted tiki room that is the highest lightning rod. And that's because the roof, which is meant to look like a thatched roof, which is generally made out of straw or grass, is actually little bits of aluminium. But it looks so real, you would never know. Guys, my all-time favourite fun fact that I learned today is that at Magic Kingdom there is a ride where the characters' hairs grow and they have to cut it every few months, and that ride is Small World. And the reason for that is because the characters have yarn for hair, and because of the humidity in Florida, the yarn actually grows and they have to trim it literally every 3 or 4 months. Wild!
One of my favourite facts we learnt today, which I think was from a question from one of the guests on the tour, was something that I think most people wonder when they come, particularly here to Orlando, where it is just stinking hot all year round, is whether the characters in the fur costumes, how those cast members keep themselves cool. Turns out there are kind of 2 options. One, you just cop it and you're hot. You're only out for generally half an hour at a time, so just be hot for half an hour. The other option is that you can wear an ice vest, which is interesting, but the downside to that is it then melts and makes your costume all wet. So most people opt to just be hot, which I thought was very interesting. One of the other fun facts we learned, which was in line with the requirements for people who are wanting to become cast members in the entertainment category, was in relation to the stormtroopers. And we then got onto the topic of how the stormtroopers talk.
Suspicious behavior. We were told to interrogation mode. Enjoy your day.
And it turns out that all the different catchphrases are initiated by different movements that the stormtroopers do. So for example, if they lift their arm up, that will initiate a certain catchphrase, or if they raise their gun up, that will also initiate a different catchphrase. So that was something that was really interesting as well. We got so much out of the tour, but we also got a little special gift. So this is our little place card from lunch, and inside we were gifted a little Keys to the Kingdom pin, which is a nice little extra that we got from the tour.